You're listening to Polished Woman, only on LA Talk Radio.
Hi, everyone. Polished Women. I did not invite anybody today because I want to learn and I want to find out and learn about this beautiful woman here. She's so polished, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
I don't need to polish her.
Oh, I need plenty of polishing, believe me. Let's get these rags out and start shining me up.
I'm going to do my intro. So people may hear the term polished woman and think that what I mean is that in order to be polished, a woman has to be perfect. No, she doesn't. There are things that we do or things that happen to us that may make us feel this way, especially if what occurred wasn't a choice. In the news recently, there's been a lot of focus on people speaking out about past sexual assault, and I want everyone listening to know that being abused in this way does not tarnish someone, or it doesn't make them flawed or imperfect. Even though those are some common ways that may feel, as women, we need to uplift each other, protect each other, and support each other. Sexual assault is one of those things that we really don't talk about, unless it's something that happened to us or someone close to us has shared their story. And I understand why we see things like Me Too and Time's Up and the way that those men and women are treated. There are all these questions about why they waited so long to come forward, or people are accused of lying or misunderstanding the situation, and that's not the conversation, that we should be having. We should actually be open and talk about it. So, our special guest is Shari. I'm joined today by poised woman Shari Karney, author of the memoir "The Girl Behind the Curtain: Finding My Voice, Breaking Silence," and the founder of nonprofit Roar as One, which works for survivors of sexual assault.
Yes.
Okay, Shari. For those who may not be familiar with your story, can you give us a little background?
Sure, and thank you for having me.
Yeah,
and
I'm
looking
so
at a
flattered.
beautiful polished woman. Oh my God.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I want to know about this.
One of the things I think that's important for women to know and all survivors to know is that people don't want to say they're Me Too. People don't want to say they're a survivor because it tarnishes us.
Yeah.
It makes us feel less than. It makes us feel like people don't want to say they're a victim.
But is it because you think that they will be judged by...
It's because there's shame with it. It's a feeling of not only self-blame, but society blames victims.
Okay.
There's victim blaming.
Okay.
We blame ourselves. We feel ashamed inside of ourselves because we somehow feel that had we been smarter, quicker, prettier, faster, that it wouldn't have happened to us, that somehow we have control over it.
Okay.
And we don't.
We don't.
No, victims are victims because they don't have control over it. It's like the gun shootings at the high schools.
Yes.
Many of the victims feel somehow to blame. They should have known someone was a bully, or they should have known someone was dangerous. And same with survivors of sexual assault, sexual abuse, and sexual harassment. We blame ourselves.
Okay.
We feel that somehow it's our fault. We feel responsible. One of the things that women always feel is two things. We have to be perfect.
Yeah, I know.
And we are responsible for everything.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, if anything goes wrong, we feel it's our fault.
Yeah, we feel it's our fault. But can you, because I had a very bad childhood.
Yes?
I think the reason why I believe in something, things happen in our lives, trials, tribulations, hardships, whatever, for us, to share this instead of keeping quiet. Share this to other people.
It makes us the people we are today.
Yeah.
I always say hidden in our trauma is our greatest gift, because you wouldn't be where you are today or who you are today. And I wouldn't be who I am today.
Yeah. So is there anything that happened to you in your childhood that, that triggered you to help people and,
Yes, of course. I mean,
hear what you are
my
now?
mother tried to murder me when I was
Wait, what?
6 years old. She put a pillow over my face and tried to suffocate me, and the phone rang and saved my life. And I was badly physically abused by my mother, not just emotionally, which is terrible, not even, she abused me psychologically, physically, burning with cigarettes, hitting, spanking, slapping, pinching, throwing downstairs, breaking bones, slamming heads against the wall. I was sexually assaulted by my father between the age of about maybe 6 months old to about 3 years old, 4 years old, and I was then raped by another neighbor family member.
Oh, wow.
So, and then I think, okay, I've had my ass kicked plenty. I thought if I was really angry and really tough, I could avoid it. And then my first week of law school, I was sexually assaulted by a law school professor.
What?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
And so if women like me and women like you have trouble speaking up, have trouble getting our arms around becoming whole after this, think about everyone out there. And so I say to all survivors, you're more beautiful than before. And you can take what happened to you and you can make good of it and you can have a reason for it. And what happened to me and what happened to you.
Yeah. Well, I actually haven't. I was just
I
telling
mean,
you
I'm
a while
not sure
ago.
what your story is, but you said you had a hard childhood.
I was gonna tell you that's why I didn't invite anybody, because I wanted to ask for your advice, because I went through a lot in my childhood, and it's weird that oh my God,
It's okay.
it's
okay.
weird that I only told my dad before he died that I was molested when I was 11, and I was under his I think I was living with him that time, and there were like, in the Philippines we have maids, we have gardeners, we have bodyguards, and we had like 2 guys, and because they were always away, they were, he was like a socialite in my country, and we had a bodyguard and we had a gardener that it wasn't like a sex, but it was like more of like a touching thing, and
Hold on a second,
penetration
though.
and stuff, and
It still damaged you. It still brings tears to your mind
No,
today. So we can't minimize it.
because I only told my dad, and my dad just passed away. That's why I'm like a little bit.
Aw.
And I told him about it, and he's like, "What? I didn't even know it." And I said, "Yeah." I said, "I don't know," because actually I forgot about it, and I grew up. That's why I had my book. I grew up being a manizer. I became, instead of a womanizer, it's a manizer, and I just went from, I had relationships with men, and I actually learned men because of what I did, and so that's why
Well,
I
you
said,
took your power through your sexuality.
yes,
Because that taught you from what happened to you as a child.
yeah,
That,
and I now understand.
taking,
Yeah.
that using sex and sexuality
Yeah,
is you're either the victim or you're the person in power.
yeah,
And you didn't want to be the victim.
yeah.
And so you sort of took the other side of it, which is just as damaging.
Yes, I know.
It doesn't make it easier, but thank
So
you
surprised.
for sharing that and for and
I actually just told my whole family when before my dad died.
and
because we
so
were all
here's
there.
my question to you.
No, you don't ask me a question.
Here's my question to you. Why did it take you so long to tell people? Why? So that our viewers can understand that they're not alone.
Yes,
And
I
if they
know.
haven't broken silence or they haven't told anyone, it's a process.
It's a process.
Why did it take you this long? What happened to you to make you feel you couldn't tell?
My mother died. She was murdered when I was 15, and
Your mother was murdered? Oh.
yeah, and I worked my ass off for when I was 15 years old, because I chose to be with my mom. In the Philippines, my dad is a rich family, and when my mom is like the poor woman, they can't be married.
They couldn't be married?
They couldn't be married. It's a whole socialite thing. It's
Okay.
it's a whole thing, and And so I chose to be with my mother, and my father came here, and when she died, I took care of my 4 siblings. So I worked. I didn't finish college, and I
But
worked.
so what? Like, I didn't tell people because I didn't have memory until I was 29.
Yeah.
I didn't know. I had repressed it completely. Have you always remembered?
No, I blocked it off.
Right.
I
And
blocked
no
it.
one until how old?
Just when I actually wrote my memoir. And that's when actually I had my anxiety. I had major anxiety. I almost killed myself. And we were just talking to, and this doctor saved me. It was like a whole, ordeal. And so that's why I was excited to be.
But here's the thing, you're an example. You're a beautiful, confident, successful, famous woman. And you felt unable to break silence. You couldn't deal with it. And because, and I'm not trying to like push you on your own story, but what went on with you? Because what goes on with you goes on with everyone.
I know.
That's why we're here where we are.
I know.
And so what made you not feel you could tell anyone or even remember it for yourself?
I just forgot.
You just repressed it, right?
Yeah, I just didn't realize until I was telling, I was talking to my dad while he was dying.
Oh.
And all my family were there, and I was like, I have to tell you guys something.
Oh, because you didn't want. Why did you feel you needed to tell before your father died? What about that moment made this your need and to break silence? What triggered that? That's so important.
I know. I felt like I had to voice out what happened to me, and for him to find out that, it's like saying, hey, I forgive you for not being there.
Okay, so in the middle of this story is a feeling that he.
I'm crying. No, I'm crying.
I'm going to be crying in a minute too. I'm starting to cry.
I'm crying because
okay,
my dad just passed.
But the truth is,
I'm supposed to be asking the question.
it's okay. No, because I've had many years to come to terms with this, and it's still painful. And I still see the tattoo of sexual assault on me. I still see that I don't trust people sometimes, that if someone moves toward me quickly, I might move away. The sense of not deserving, the ability to not accept and receive things, to feel like you don't deserve it, to feel like you have to work harder than anyone else for anything, and to feel like somehow the polish has been taken off of us. And here's how I feel. I feel like we're sort of born with this protective bubble, the bubble of who we are, and sexual assault pierces that bubble, and we're no longer protected.
Yes.
We're no longer enveloped and safe. Who we are and our boundaries have been broken. And so that leads you to be a person that people see doesn't have protection around you.
Yeah.
And they can move towards you
Yeah.
and do things towards you. That's why victims of childhood sexual abuse are sexually assaulted on campus, are date raped, are sexually harassed at work, because that victimization has already happened to us as children.
Yes.
I just learned yesterday that 1 in 7 children are sexually abused before the age of 6.
What?
I didn't know that. I read it in a study, a Connecticut study. And so for you, I think you might have felt like had your father been around more, that he could have protected you.
Yes, yes.
And did you feel like I felt more angry with my mother, who I felt knew what was going on and didn't protect me or save me, than I actually felt with my perpetrators?
Yes.
I felt more betrayed by her.
Yeah,
and
by her
that's
own,
why it's hard for me sometimes to trust women and to feel that women are going to love me and take care of me.
Yes.
Because my mother never did.
Yes.
In fact, my mother said to me, "You are so unattractive and so ugly that you better get an education because no man is ever going to marry you." And she said this to me day in and day out and day in and day out. And it was devastating. Because one of the things I understand is that when I was younger and more beautiful is when I felt the most unattractive. And now when you get older and can finally, feel like maybe you have beauty, your beauty may not be there to the same degree anymore.
Yeah.
But to feel that your own mother says
Saying
that to you,
oh,
but in a
gosh.
way, why didn't you feel like you could tell your mother? Like, why was this a secret and a burden you bore as an 11-year-old little girl?
Well, my mother passed away when I was 15. I don't know.
But this
I just
happened
didn't
to you at
have-
11, you
yeah,
said,
I
right?
know. Yeah, I was 11. I just didn't have the guts to tell her.
And we don't have the guts because we feel something
That's-
dirty happened to us, something
Yes.
shameful.
Oh, you know what? I felt like, I think that time I thought it was not wrong. I was just the curiosity of doing it. Like,
What do you mean you didn't think it was wrong? Give me an.
because I was born very Catholic, so we
Yes.
never talked about sex, never talked about anything.
Yeah.
It's like all we do is like pray. All we do is do confession every Friday and then go, and then recite the rosary and then go to church. Like that's what we did the whole time. And I
Don't get me started on priests. Don't get me started on the church and priests and the Chilean bishops. Don't get me started. So, Brett, did you feel that it was un-Catholic of you to admit that some kind of sexual violation had happened?
I think it was more of like, what is this? It was like, what is this? What is he doing? Like, and then it's like, I don't know. It was a long time ago that I just remember it was the whole touching thing and.
But this is what happens to us.
Yeah, and that's
this is what happens to victims.
I know.
This is it. We're
yeah,
confused.
we're
This person's
confused.
touching us. What does it
Yes,
mean?
yes.
We're shamed. Who do we tell?
Yeah.
Can we tell?
Yeah.
But
And
I have this one thing to say, and every mother out there's going to hate me.
Yeah.
But when we have animals and something's happened to them, we can tell.
Yes.
Their head is down, they move different, they eat different.
Yes,
There's a sense of some trauma.
Yes.
How do mothers not see this? How did your mother miss it?
Yeah.
You were not the same girl
Yeah.
the day after that you were the day before.
Yes.
How did your mother miss it?
I know.
How did anyone in the family miss it?
I know.
Well,
I don't know.
I think I do know.
But how?
Because they don't want to see it. Because they don't want to see it. And also because maybe it triggers something that happened to
To
them.
them as well, right?
Right.
That is the reason. But I want to ask you how we became a lawyer. But this is the reason why I wanted to have you here, and I've never told anyone about this whole thing, and I was gonna put this on my book, and I found out about some little girl that was actually molested as well, and they didn't say anything. But they didn't say nothing. They didn't do nothing, and I just said to this person, I said, why not? I mean, so what's going to happen to that person that just did it to her if she's not going to speak out and say, and then I was like, how about the mother? No, the mother doesn't want to do anything. Like, why? So where
Right.
is this guy now? Oh, he's there. So he's out there doing the same thing to
But
different
it's the
women.
same story everywhere because
Yeah.
where's the guy that did it to you? Where is
Yeah.
the men that did it to me?
Yeah, I know.
They're out there doing it to someone
Yeah.
else, and we carry their secret.
Exactly.
And they count on that from
Yes.
us.
Yes.
And that's why I'm doing what I'm doing.
Oh, I love this.
That is why I'm doing what I'm doing, because we need to have a constitutional human right to body safety. No one should be able to touch you
Yeah, I know.
without your permission or wanting of it.
Yes.
Whether you're a child, a college student, elderly woman, a disabled person, a male, straight, gay, LBGTQ, we should have the right,
Yes.
constitutional right in America and worldwide
Yes,
to have the right to safety to our own body.
of course.
And without that, we protect predators, pedophiles, and perpetrators. That's
Yeah.
it, because the person who did it to you,
Yes.
you were not his only victim.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure.
And because
I'm sure.
you were silent, because you're in
Yeah.
a Catholic country, because those things aren't talked about, because it's shameful, because the family doesn't even discuss sex, and because your father wasn't around to protect you, and you were silenced, now there's a slew of women behind you
Yeah.
that may be victims of this same person. So every woman that breaks silence breaks it. Every man, woman, and child that breaks silence breaks it not only for themselves, but to prevent future children from being violated.
Yeah.
Every time we speak out and we say who it was, and we stand up and use our voice,
Yes.
do you understand that the athletes of Dr. Larry Nassar,
Oh,
those
gosh.
16-year-old children,
Oh gosh, I know.
that's been going on. I knew about it for 10 years.
You did?
Of course, these children, they were,
Oh.
of course, they were talking, they were saying
Yeah.
it happened to them. No one was doing anything.
Yeah.
Those U.S. Olympic team, the doctors, they could have prevented hundreds of more victimizations if they had acted. The Catholic Church could have prevented millions of survivors had they acted.
Is
The
this-
buck stops with us.
Yeah.
It's us. We need to stop it. And so if you feel that you can't break silence or can't tell, think about the victims that are lined up behind you
Yeah.
that you could stop
Yeah.
and prevent. It's for the next generation.
Yeah.
It's for our children
It's
and our
for our
grandchildren,
children,
our
yeah.
children's children.
Is this the reason why you chose to become a lawyer? Like after what happened to you?
You know,
just-
no, I didn't know what had happened to me when I became a lawyer. I learned, my memory came back
Yeah.
during my first child sexual abuse case.
Okay.
I was doing aviation law,
Okay.
airplane crashes
Okay.
with engines falling off, and all my clients were deceased.
Okay.
And then a social worker I was the third lawyer she had tried,
Mm-hmm.
had a case of a 3-year-old child who had been sexually assaulted by her father for 1.5 years. And in her case, there was medical testimony and medical proof.
Oh, this is when actually you tried to.
That is.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
saw that. I read that.
So it was in the middle of trying this case for this
Yes.
child, my
Yes.
first, that my own memory of child sexual abuse came flooding back.
So is that the reason why you attacked him?
That
and,
is the
like-
reason I attacked
Yeah.
him. Other than he's a skimy son of a bitch anyway, but, and deserved to have the
Yeah.
shit beat out of
What
him. I hope I can
happened-
say
what
that.
happened to that case?
Okay, good question.
Yeah.
I went to jail for 2 nights for contempt of court. I was court ordered into
What?
therapy. The mother was ordered into therapy. The child was ordered into therapy. And the father perpetrator got visitations with a monitor for 6 months
Yeah.
and then complete unmonitored visitations. So, and this child,
So he could have been continued.
oh, he did continue.
Oh gosh.
And the reason I know he continued
Yeah.
is because she told and nothing happened.
Yeah.
Now he considered himself bulletproof.
Oh wow.
And he wasn't even court ordered into therapy. But one thing I can tell you, I was where the event had happened in another district. It wasn't in Los Angeles. And I ran into him at a
Okay.
fisherman's wharf.
Oh, so wait, he's still out?
Oh, yeah, oh, sure. Of course.
Okay.
And
this is
he
not
looked
good.
like he was going to jump into the water to avoid me. He was so
Oh,
afraid of
God.
me. I saw him look to see if he could jump quick enough to swim
Yeah.
and get away from me. He was more afraid of me than anybody. But still, where's the child? The last time I heard, she was in a home for emotionally disabled teenagers, adults,
Oh.
because she told and she spoke up. And she had a lawyer, me, who said, I believe you and I'm not going to let this happen to you. And then nothing was done. And so that's another.
That breaks my heart.
I stopped being able to represent children because I could never save them. I could never save them from what was going to happen. And people think, oh, a child tells and the perpetrator will be sent to jail. I've never seen it really happen. And look around you. We have adult women, Gwyneth Paltrow,
Yeah.
all of these
Celebrities, yeah.
Reese Witherspoon.
Yes, they all
And
came
still
out.
Harvey Weinstein,
Yes.
alleged Harvey Weinstein sexual assaulter and abuser.
That is
still no criminal
crazy
charge.
when
And
that
Bill
came out. And
Cosby
Bill
just
Cosby.
got a conviction
Yeah.
after 35
35
years.
I know. Oh my gosh. This
And
is like.
so
heart wrenching. I mean, but how? I want to tell everyone that you have this organization called
Roar as One.
Yeah, Roar as One. How can you tell everyone? What
Okay, Roar as One. What we need for Roar as One is we want you to join us. We want you to use your voice. We need you to help us get laws drafted to change the Constitution so that all of us have the constitutional right to body safety. We need volunteers. We need donations. Right now, I'm funding it myself.
Okay.
And we really need donors.
Okay.
Because there's wonderful work we're going to do. We have wonderful plans for what we're going to do to end child sexual assault, sexual abuse, and sexual harassment. And the quickest way to end it is to give victims rights and to give victims the opportunity to go against perpetrators, pedophiles, and predators. Bosses, judges, fathers, stepfathers, priests, neighbors, doctors, and coaches. Time's up, and it's time for a reckoning.
Yes, and I think I want to be a part of this. Since
I want
already
you
told
to.
you about my whole situation.
Please, I would
wanna-
love for you to be
yes,
an
I
ambassador for Roar as One.
I want to. I want to help this
It
organization.
means the world to me.
Yeah.
It means the world
because,
to me.
I think by me not telling anybody about what happened to me, that gave me anxiety. That triggered me having anxiety and almost like killing
It
myself.
hurt you.
Yeah.
It hurt you.
And I think it's still hurting me because I just cried. But I think it's also because I just told my dad, and my dad just passed away. So.
But it is still hurting you
It is,
because this
yeah.
is a tattoo
Yeah.
that doesn't get removed.
It doesn't.
We can laser it, we can heal, we can try, but there's always going to be a piece of us
Yeah.
that was that helpless child and that ashamed person who felt somehow, we should have told, we should have done more.
Yeah.
In my case, my mother knew about the neighbor and said, "Oh, I just thought he was hitting you."
Oh.
I was 6 years old. He wasn't hitting me, he was raping me. And so Roar as One is our hope.
Yeah.
It's our battle cry. It's our coming together and supporting each other.
Yeah.
And Maya Angelou said it best. She said, "I come as one, but I stand as 10,000. You come as one, but you stand as 10,000."
Wow.
And really thank you for sharing your story. I know.
This is the first time.
And we will talk again.
I will talk, and I want to be a part of this. This
Roar as
organization.
One.
Roar as One. I want to be a part of it.
We're going to
and
contact you tomorrow.
Yes, I want, and I want.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
and so, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
For my advice for today, we have to do better for survivors of sexual assault. And while there's no one right thing that we can do, since everyone is different, the first step is the right direction is to be willing to listen without judgment and offer what support we can, whether it's being a shoulder to cry on, helping to direct them to resources, or in some cases finding a way to speak about our own trauma. And I think that's what happened to me. I felt like I was going to be judged, and as a
And I
as
don't
a
judge
child.
you at all.
Yeah, and so the tip for the day, remember that in everyone's life there are things that happen that we did not expect, didn't plan, and in the case of sexual assault, talking about this can be difficult. It may even feel impossible, but I encourage you to do it. If you're a survivor, don't be embarrassed or feel like you owe anyone your silence. You don't. Your voice and your story are important, and sharing it can be the key in stopping future assaults from occurring, getting your attacker and put him to jail, or being the encouragement that someone else needs to come forward with their own story. Most importantly, know that you are not alone. So come to Roar.
Yes, come to Roar as One.
As one, and we can help you. And since I'm going to be a part of it, we can both help. Shari and I will help you. So remember, Polish Women. Remember, Polish Women. I'm sorry, I had to tell you my story.
But
Shari
this
had
makes
me.
you a polished woman.
Okay.
This makes you the beautiful woman you are, more beautiful than before.
Thank you so much. You are beautiful. Hey, I didn't like that, what her mom said that, but I don't believe in the word ugly, just to let you know. Let's love one another. Try to give love to the first person that you see today after watching this show. Thank you.
You make me cry.
You're listening to Polished Woman, only on LA Talk Radio.
That's why I thought like